I could ask or think, believe, yes, I believe. You say,
I believe that you are able to do exceedingly abundantly, far above all I could ask or think.
I am so excited because the Step Out TV shows are back live on T2i TV. And for those who don't know, Step Out is a series of interviews and motivational segments designed to bring the best out of you and your business. Therefore, we have the following TV programs. Our first TV program, which is our flagship program, dubbed Step Out with Oscar Bimpong, is designed to interview consultants, experts, talented people, and those doing exceptionally well in their communities. The second one is Step Out SME Focus. This is where we interview business owners and showcase their products and services. The third one is Step Out Youth Impact Zone. This is where we interview young people succeeding against all odds to serve as an inspiration to other young people. And the last one is Step Out Authors Corner. And this is where we interview authors to share what their book is about to the world. Join us every week at 7 p.m. GMT. Like T2i TV on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel. To advertise or for further information, do WhatsApp +44 759 1152 983 or +233 55 580 3924 or email info@traintoinspire.com. T2i TV. We engage, educate, enlighten, and empower.
Welcome to another exciting edition of the Step Out with Oscar Bimpong TV show. And as usual, we are here to have a powerful conversation that is going to change the lives of anyone that cares, with a strategic focus to the African continent. Last Tuesday we were here, last Thursday we were here. And today is Saturday. And Saturday is where we normally have our flagship program, Step Out with Oscar Bimpong. For those that don't know, Step Out with Oscar Bimpong is where we interview consultants, talented people doing exceptionally well in their communities, and experts. The idea is to help give forehand information and knowledge to people, especially young people on the African continent, in pursuit of any vision that they hold. So this is a powerful platform that is not for one country in Africa, but for the whole continent, and also those in diaspora as well. Today we have a very powerful session, and I got a very powerful man. I met this man about 3 years ago. But before I go on to really introduce him, let us have some few announcements. This program is being sponsored by P&Q Personnel. P&Q Personnel is your agency for hiring healthcare assistants and nurses based in the UK. If you really want to contact them, there is a WhatsApp number scrolling on the screen. Just take any of the WhatsApp numbers and just WhatsApp us, and we are going to connect you to P&Q Personnel. Also, this program is sponsored by ALS Global Shipping and Logistics. That is your trusted import and export company based in Accra. To contact them is +23 +233 243 314 438. Now, to advertise on this show, just call the WhatsApp number or just send us a message on the WhatsApp number that is scrolling on the screen. We are there for small and medium enterprises and business startups. As a business startup, it will be very difficult for you to go to main media to go and advertise. But with us, we are able to support you, not just to give you an opportunity for you to advertise, but for us to support you for you to strategically position yourself in the marketplace. So Train to Inspire consultancy is what is backing this whole TV show. Some people always ask, T2i TV, what is it all about? It means that Train to Inspire TV. And Train to Inspire consultancy is your business training and consulting firm that is helping businesses from business startup to business development to really strategically position yourself in the marketplace. That is what we do. We help businesses to grow. Now, today is another powerful discussion that we are going to have. And who is in the hot seat? As I said earlier on, I met this man some 3 years back when they called upon me to host one of the awards that they hold. And it was one powerful experience. An awards night that was filled with culture, filled with people from all walks of life from the African continent. And that was one of my most difficult MCs. Why? Because there were so much cultures that were around that, it's like, how do you keep all of them happy? But I was able to nail it. And since then, we've been working together in different ways in terms of business, building relationship and connecting each other in different ways. Now, who is this man that I'm really talking more about? He's the founder of Global African Awards and Magazine, and is the director of CMG International Media Group. He is in the person of Conrad in Mwanza. Conrad, please welcome to the Step Out with Oscar Bimpong TV show, and you are live on T2i TV.
Hey, Mr. Oscar, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to join you in this hopefully a fruitful discussion.
Definitely. And with you, I know we will never go wrong because you are always on point as far as I've got to know you. Yes.
No pressure, Oscar, but thank you very much.
Yes.
It's about sharing the experience.
Yeah, well, exactly. So today we are going to talk about Africa Rising. And This is a topic that when we were discussing before time, I was so fascinated about it because there is a lot that we can talk about, the new Africa. And I always ask every guest that comes on the show, and that is, who is Conrad Mwanza? That I will use in my introduction. That is in brief, not in brief.
No, in brief. I mean, Conrad Mwanza is first and foremost, I'm a proud Zimbabwean and also a proud African. This is the best way that I can describe myself. I take pride in my continent, and I spent half all my life trying to showcase what Africa is about. So Conrad Mwanza is a proud African. That's how you can best describe me.
Wow. A proud African. And I think we are all proud to be Africans anyway. Yes. Now, let me go straight to business. When I was trying to research, I just bumped on something online. And that is your mantra. And your mantra is preparing for tomorrow's opportunities today.
Yes.
Do you think Africa is preparing for tomorrow's opportunities today?
Oh, Oscar, I don't know where to start. Look, Africa has a bright future, first and foremost, but I think we have not realized it quite yet. So in a way, maybe through our young, the next generation who are maybe getting more education, yes, we are preparing for tomorrow today. But however, I think it takes our leaders. I think our leaders perhaps don't have that vision to understand that they've got to prepare for tomorrow, they've got to do it today. I don't know if that makes sense. So the preparation stage is now, but it's tomorrow. It's I can use China as an example. China had a vision that this is what they want to do in a certain stage. And if I were to give you a clear example, at some point, Nigeria's GDP and China's GDP were probably the same. But they had a vision for tomorrow, and hence they implemented that vision in terms of being a manufacturer, et cetera, and that's where they are today. So I feel as perhaps our leaders don't have that vision for tomorrow. Yes, I've heard of the 2060 plan, etc., but are we implementing it? Maybe not yet. But again, Oscar, I don't want to always put blame on others. The onus is on you and me to be that. So the change is not going to come from anyone else. It's not going to come in my country. I always say the change is not going to come from the politicians. We are the change. So our attitude needs to start with us before we point fingers at anyone else. We are Africans after all. So the continent would not be changed by anyone but us.
When I was very young, there was a vision for Ghana, and that was Vision 2020. And I was very young. I'm talking about in the 90s or I think in the 80s. Very young.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Ghana wanted to achieve a lot by 2020. And here we are, 2020. And Ghana wasn't able to achieve a quarter of what he wanted to implement by that time.
Yes.
Do you think procrastination is a lifestyle, is a culture on the continent? Making that rising rhetoric something that really is like we are just talking, but when it comes to the doing mode, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ghana is probably a little bit better than most African countries. I always say to all of my Ghanaian friends, in my next life, I'll probably be Ghanaian. I love Ghana. So you are a bit better. So don't be hard on yourself as much. You've got democracy. There are certain things that are working in Ghana. So we are proud of Ghana. The year of the return. There's things that we can celebrate. So I don't want to be too negative on our continent at the same time. I want to provide solutions. But the only issue that we have as a continent is what I call an issue of validation. We are always looking for validation. And I say this, we're looking for a Bill Gates to come and do something for us in Africa. That's when we start taking ourselves serious. We are looking for the worst to say something before we start being serious. So I call it a case of lack of validation. We need validation first and foremost, as you know. So I wouldn't say it's a case of procrastination. It's a case of changing our mentality. Our attitude towards Africa needs to change. We need to be proud to be African. We need to start consuming Africa. We need to, everything that we do is focused on Africa. Do you buy African? So rather than procrastination, I think it's the attitude that need to change. I want to give you a clear example. The African print. The African print and in Ghana, you've got the beautiful cloth, but that has been there for us for many, many years. Yes. But now, because Stella McCartney is doing it, it's suddenly become fashionable. So what I'm trying to say to you is we have it all within the continent. It's time for us to be proud of what we have and to consume what we have. That's what I think we need to do.
So it means that we don't need to wait for Stella McCartney, yeah?
We don't need to wait for Stella McCartney to tell us that the print is beautiful. It is beautiful. Let's buy African. You see, when I'm talking about attitude, let me give you another clear example, Oscar, because this is a subject that that I'm very passionate about. Let me give you a very clear example. We've got the Jewish community in the UK. You see what's happening with the Labour right now. The Jewish community is not necessarily that they've got many Jews, no. They've got less, but they're very, very, very influential. The reason why they're very influential, they've got pride, they've got wealth, they can influence, okay? So whereas with us Africans, we are more or less, we've got more Africans here in the UK, but we cannot influence politics. It's the reason we don't have that one voice. So I am calling upon, let's change our attitude more towards pro-African. Buy African first if you can. I will talk about fashion when it comes to it, but these are the things that we need to do. Let's change our attitude. Very, very important.
You talked about attitude, and I think that was a very good point that you put across. But how can you change the attitude when the image out there is very bad? Now, let me give you a typical example. In the year 2000, The Economist ran a cover story with the title "Hopeless Africa." 4 years later, Robert Guest, who served as the newspaper's Africa editor, published The Shackled Continent, a book that pretty much concluded that there is absence of miracles on the continent of Africa. That is, Africa's future was bleak. Do you think with such images or set tags attached to us, Do you think it's so easy for us to change our attitude?
Yes, it's very easy because you see, again, I'll come back to my country. We can be our own worst enemy. So we go out there, the first people to bash Africa are Africans. So this is why I call about instilling pride in our continent. The first people who bash Africa, the first people who bash Zimbabwe are Zimbabweans. If you want to know about Zimbabweans, don't wait for the economists. The Zimbabweans themselves are bashing the country. So even the continent. So that's what I'm saying to you. Here in the UK, if we all say, no, this has to stop, it will stop because we've got the numbers, we've got the economies of scale to say, no, we're not going to do this. So that's why our attitude needs to change. It's instilling pride into our own continent, is consuming African products. So we have the market, you know how many people are in Africa, we have the market. So let's consume our own products. This is where the problem starts. It starts from any product. You know, which product is made in Africa that you can tell me right now and say, this product is made in Africa. I can find it in Zambia, in Gambia, in Ivory Coast, in Sierra Leone. Nothing. Japan. This is where all the cars come from Japan, they come from Germany. Where is our African cars? Our leaders are driving cars. So it starts from the top in terms of the vision of the leaders, and it also comes down to us as Africans. We consume. You know, if I make a bit of money, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to buy Gucci. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to buy Dolce & Gabbana, and I'm going to be proud of that. This is where you see where I'm talking about instilling pride. Where are our African designers? Why am I not buying an African design? Why am I not buying Alexander Amasu? Because it's got a luxury brand. Why am I not doing that? But I'm going to go and rush and buy Gucci and come and display to other Africans that I've got Gucci. There's nothing to be proud of because it's not an African brand. This is where the attitude starts. It starts there. Our attitude ought to change.
But to be honest, we are a consumption continent, not a production continent. And that is a fact. And the fact is also that we really love everything foreign to the detriment of everything local.
Yes.
Now with this, how can people have the pride to say, look, I want to buy made in Ghana? To be honest, it is changing a little bit, but the pace is too slow.
Too slow, yeah.
People don't patronize local businesses. Let me give you a typical example. If you are a consultant that is living in Ghana, it's more difficult for you to get jobs than a consultant that is coming from abroad.
Yes.
They will get a consultant from abroad who knows nothing about your culture, who knows nothing about the terrain, who knows nothing about your environment, who knows nothing about the businesses over there, come and train people, take thousands of dollars out of the country, but the local person, even they want to even beat the price to 1/3 of the. How can we grow as a continent?
Very good point, Oscar. That's a very, very good point. That's what I touched on earlier on. I said we lack a sense of validation. So for a consultant to be important, he has to come from the West. But the same consultant in Ghana can do the same job. But because he is from the continent, he is not important. He's not coming from London. He's not English. He's not American. That is the sense of validation that I'm talking about. That's what we need to change. But Oscar, it starts, I want to make this, anyone who's listening, it starts with you and me. It does not start with anybody. It starts with you and me. Today is Saturday. Did you order African takeaway? Did you order food? You probably ordered Chinese. I'm probably guilty. Ordered Chinese. I ordered Indians. I even asked one of my friends to say, let's get Chinese. But all I'm trying to say to you is it starts with us. Here in the UK, Indian is mainstream food. Chinese is mainstream food. Why is jollof rice? Why is the Nigerian and Ghanaian food, which are spicy and nice, why are they not mainstream? This is what I'm talking about. So it starts with you and me, first of all. Let's change our attitude. Let's buy African. Let's go and support African takeaways. almost on purpose, because the food is not bad, but because that way we are encouraging those people to improve and to be better. So it starts with you and me. The second part, which I would say, it starts with our leaders. I want to give you a classic example. I know in Nigeria and Ghana, they are assembling cars now. But as Africans, this is what we're going to celebrate. And I was reading this in Rwanda. VW has done a plant in Rwanda, and all the Africans in Rwanda are going to be jumping up and down, saying, yes, VW is creating jobs. I'm against that, because we are also consuming cars. Now, our leaders have a responsibility too. I'll give you, why should they do as the AU? There is cars in Ghana. There is cars in Nigeria. Let all African governments and their departments, for example, buy those cars. Instead of buying German cars, let it be almost a rule or a law to say all government vehicles should be produced in Africa. Do you know how many millions then that are flying out of the continent? So I'm trying to say, we have the market. Let's create products so that we consume within ourselves, because the market is there. So if all the governments, if they meet at the AU, the 54 leaders, and say, this is a directive, the car industry will change overnight, because it's not like there's no money. The money is there, but it's buying German cars. It's buying Japanese cars. So where is the money going? It's buying Switzerland. Where is the money going? It's flying out of the continent. I would ask you another simple question. I'm asking viewers here. Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci, give me an African brand. I want you to give me one African brand that that I can find in Ghana, that I can wear with pride, and I can find in Ghana, I can find in Gambia, I can find in South Africa, I can find in Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone. Anyway, there is no one, not one brand. So can you see where the problem is? But it's going to start with us. We have to change our attitude. The pride that we start with us being proud to be Africans. And I'm not saying people are not proud, but I'm saying show it by how you spend your money. Spend your money towards Africa. And that's the only way we can reduce unemployment. That's the only way we can reduce our brothers are dying in the sea, is because they don't have jobs. But let's promote the economy in our own continent.
It's quite interesting, the kind of points that you are making, and I'm like, whoa, this is just the way it is, and you are just explaining it in plain ways. Now, look, when we go to Dubai, and we are so proud of it. Now Africans, one of their destinations is to go to Dubai, and people are so much glorious. They find it so much like they'll be able to go to Dubai on a holiday. Now, let me give you a typical example. There is one man in Ghana called Sapo Kantanka, and he's building cars. That is the Kantanka cars.
Kantanka cars, yes, the Kantanka cars, yes.
Man is doing 4-wheel drives, small cars. He's doing all sorts, right? Look, government upon government have been trying to patronize, but the patronage is too low. This has agricultural equipment that farmers can use. The man is doing a lot. I'm always telling people that if this man, if he was living abroad in Europe or America, this man will be a billionaire by now.
Yes, correct.
Our people are always giving excuses and always making statements that is demeaning to what this man is doing.
Yeah.
How can we grow as a continent when we don't even believe in our own? Because self-belief is the fundamental principle that each and everyone needs, not to even talk about a continent or a country, to succeed. How can we have that self-belief in our own products and services?
Yeah, but Oscar, good point. Again, I go back to the basics. Attitude. You see, that word attitude is important. And you touched on Dubai. I want to give you another example. Within our African, here in the diaspora, and even on the continent, no one travels within the continent. So you are saying we are quickly to go to Dubai, Paris, You know, I live in South Africa as well, and we have xenophobia there in South Africa. And the reason why we have xenophobia in South Africa is because of no exposure. We don't travel. So my brothers and sisters in South Africa would have not gone to Zimbabwe next door and see how the country is. They would have not gone to Nigeria. So, but they will be equally surprised. I've been to Nigeria and it's a lovely place. But if more South Africans were to go, they would appreciate. So I'm trying to say we need to encourage travel within the continent. The question that I want to ask people, what is your next holiday destination and why? And people will tell me Thailand, they will tell me all this beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there is Zanzibar, there is Kenya, beautiful Kenya, you know, Namibia, Sierra Leone, you know, the continent is beautiful, but you are African and you rather go and spend your money in the Far East. So we need to encourage travel within the continent amongst ourselves. So it's our attitude. So it all boils down to our attitude. I don't want to wait for anybody. And I keep saying this. I don't want to wait for my leaders to change. I have to change my attitude. So you also have to change your attitude. Then once our attitudes change, like how the Jews are the most, there's few Jews in the world, but they're the most influential. Here in the UK, they're most influential. In America, they're the most influential because they've got pride. Wherever they are, they're Jews and they've got one voice. Here in Africa, I want to give you a classic example. I met the mayor, the London Mayor Khan, and I was giving him one of our magazines, and he completely blanked me out. And I was like, and then I had a word with him. I said, but Mayor, we are Africans. We contribute a lot towards your vote. But you are giving me this attitude. And he quickly switched off and said, oh, I'm sorry. You know, but I'm trying to say to you, do we have one voice as Africans here in the UK that can influence? You know, if you look in America, when they campaign, they go and campaign predominantly towards the Spanish communities. Here, the Jews, as you see with Labour, they don't touch them. Where in the UK can you find one African voice where we say, guys, let's go and vote for this person? Let's go and vote for Labour. We don't have that one voice. We're divided as a nation. So once we're divided and our attitude is wrong, we cannot develop. So it starts with our attitude. Let's be proud to be African. This is my mentor. That's why in the beginning I said I'm a proud African. I want to consume African. If there's a label that I can buy, I would buy it. If there's food that I can buy, I will buy it. And if there's a consultant that I can hire, I will hire an African consultant.
It's quite interesting, and like the way you are saying it, it means that we need to be very proud, saying that, look, I went to Lagos and I loved it.
Yes.
You know, I went to Monrovia and look, you see, the problem is that I think I've been staying on this level for quite too long. We need to move on to the next, level.
Okay, no problem.
It's quite interesting. Like I just came back from Ghana just March.
Yeah.
And sometimes when they are playing Premiership, right? Mm. And I know your answer will still be this attitude, but I want to contribute this to it. And the way they are so fascinated and they are so enthusiastic watching Premiership. And we don't take the same energy watching Accra House of Folks or Kotoko in Ghana.
Yes.
Our local leagues. And sometimes I engage people. And when I engage people, you see that they are all having the same line of answers. And that is, it's not interesting. The pitches are not good. And I'm like, go and watch the Premier League in the 80s. Our is even better than those days. But these people continue to go to the stadium all these years to build the Premiership that you love.
Yes.
If you are neglecting this, then how can we grow as a continent? Let me give you a typical example. On Ghana television now, for example, most of our TV programs are coming from India.
Yes.
We go and bring these Indian movies and put a Ghanaian language on top of it. And let me give you an example, right? I went to have a meeting with one of these top guys in media, and I wanted to host my TV program. And it's the same concept I'm having this conversation with. After 30 minutes of deliberation, This guy told me that, look, Oscar, you've got a very good concept, but here it doesn't sell.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Mm.
When I left, I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to make a decision
Mm.
to take my destiny into my own hands. Now,
Yes,
what he was
correct.
trying to tell me is that the kumkum badges of
India.
sells better than Oscar Bimpong, that is going to help to build knowledge and empower young people, create a platform for realistic discussion to take this continent to the next level. My brother, I think we are far behind in terms of this discussion that we are having.
I agree, Oscar, with all your points that you're talking about, and always come back. As I say to you, the issue is that Africa, it's not like Africa does not have the money. And I see a comment here on now. It's not that Africa does not have money, it's that all our money flies out of the continent. You know, if we're going for, and our leaders, it's a big thing here in Zimbabwe, I know that for sure. Our leaders get sick, they are flying off to Singapore, they're flying to China to get help. So, and like as you were saying with the example of football, our dollar is not spent in the continent. Out of a dollar, we receive 8% or 90% of that is spent on products that are not in Africa. So the football is not going to improve because all our money is spent in the Premiership. The medical hospitals are not going to improve because all our money is spent on foreign in India. In Nigeria, with such a huge population, you know how much India makes out of Nigeria alone on medical tourism? 2 billion. 2 billion. That's flying out of Nigeria into India a year. That's medical. So why can that money be invested to do the state-of-the-art medical facilities in Nigeria? That's the thing that I ask. And you've got around the world, you've got all these qualified Nigerian doctors, but you don't have a state-of-the-art hospital in Nigeria. In Zimbabwe, our leaders will go and spend millions in China, Singapore, everywhere else getting medical help, but they can spend those millions building a state-of-the-art hospital in the country. So again, it's attitude. We spend 80 to 90% of our dollar outside the continent. So the continent will not improve up until we turn that around. This is what China does. You manufacture your own product, you've got the market, and consume within the continent. So we've got to change the way we think economically, even though as much as we are here in the UK. Oscar, not taking much of, I don't want to take a lot of people's time, but I'll give you, there's another classic example. A lot of websites are built in India, and I say to a lot of my African brothers, why we've got creatives in Africa. Any African who goes to India to empower India, and I'm not saying don't do that, you are taking jobs away from the African. Go and look for African designers, go and look for web designers, go and look for virtual services in Africa, because our young people are educated, just looking for opportunities. And you are here in the diaspora promoting and going to buy websites in India, which will probably cost the same amount or less if you do it in Africa. So let's change our attitude. It's the attitude that is so important. Let's be proud of our African football, our African hospitals, our African brands. That is what we need, Oscar. We don't need magic. And that solution is not waiting for your president. It's you and me who can change that. It's not anyone else.
It's not anyone else. It just starts from me and you. And that is very, very good. It's a great point. I think Futi Manetela says, I agree with you, Conrad. We need to change our negative mindset towards Africa. Our own Africa leaders go abroad for medical help instead of getting it in the continent. This is a saying we don't have faith in our health system. This mindset needs to change. And that's why I love coronavirus, because now if you're a leader in Africa and you are sick, you don't have no option that to either heal yourself in Africa or die in Africa. So coronavirus at this moment, to me, is one of the greatest things that has happened to us. I think it's going to let us go to the drawing board and really rethink that, look, we have to look after the things that matters on the continent. Now let me move to the next stage. We have stayed on this level for far
Yes.
too long. Now there is this quote by Grieve Shalwa, and he says, the rhetoric around Africa rising is giving us a false sense of comfort and distracting us from the real work that needs to happen. Do you think that is the case?
Say the last part again. I just wanted to catch
Yeah,
that.
he's trying to say that the rhetoric around Africa rising is giving us a false sense of comfort
Yes.
and
I agree.
distracting us from the real work that needs to happen. Do you think that is the case?
It's correct. It's very much so. A lot of people are taking, like I said to you, a lot of people are going into the dollar that we spend in Africa is still going outside the continent. So yes, the economies might be improving. There is a bit of unemployment, and maybe the positive, because I don't want to always look at the negative. The positive is that we've got a young continent, a young continent. So our youth are young. So that is the positive. And maybe there's a bit of employment and education is a thing. So I don't want to be all negative about my continent. They are positives. But however, again, we need to change the way our average dollar that we spend. Each dollar that we spend should try and stay within the continent. I have an iPhone, and if there was an alternative African phone, I probably won't buy it. But it's almost the same thing. Yes, there is a false sense of hope because the big economies and the Chinese are invading or colonizing Africa again with this hope that there is a bit of hope. No, we are still a little bit behind, I think.
Yeah, we are still a little bit behind. But you mentioned we have one of the youngest people across all the continent of the world. And that means we have got a very vibrant continent.
Yes.
Now, in terms of jobs, now let me give you one statistic that happened in Ghana, I think around 2018. The immigration service in Ghana was looking to hire 500 candidates, and over 84,000 young people applied. Now, this shows you the scale of unemployment. And in Ghana, every year, over about 400,000 young people come out. And the public sector can only employ 2% of them. Now, I think there have to be some drastic change that needs to happen to the continent. Do you have any clue, any drastic change that we can really embark on to change this unemployment situation? Create a platform for young people to thrive, and also for young people to believe that, look, they can build their visions on the continent without any fear.
I absolutely agree. Entrepreneurship is another one. It's very important. That's why I'm saying there's a bit of hope. A lot of innovation is now coming out of Africa. So entrepreneurship is encouraged among the young people. They need to get involved into entrepreneurship. However, the second part, which is I have been trying to speak to the AU about it, is our leaders passing on these things that we've got to pass a mandate of consuming. I keep going back because I'll give you an example. Manufacturing, China is good at manufacturing. Ethiopia has got a vibrant manufacturing community. People don't know this, but Ethiopia is producing a lot of good leather, a lot of good shoes, and it's almost become a small satellite of China. So we are still rushing to China and rushing to Turkey, but Ethiopia can do that. So I am saying our leaders need to perhaps also say, guys, as 54 countries, let's encourage, and I know this is a bit of hope, let's encourage to consume our products. Let's try and encourage people to consume African. That will create, our economies will rise, and that will create unemployment. Another way, and I say this, the diaspora has a role to play in that aspect. If you look at the remittances that we push into Africa, it's what I call, again, consumable remittances. We push billions of dollars into Africa, but this money is not invested in growing our economies. Is sent to my mom. My mom will take the $100, go and buy groceries, and then next month is waiting for another $100. So the money is not being invested. So it's not recycling that money. If I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
The second part where the diaspora can do as well. You know what I do, Oscar. All the stuff that I do, I outsource from Africa. All my graphic designers, my web developers, anything to do, as long as it can be done virtually, I outsource it to Africa. What that is doing is employing 10 people, and those 10 people have 3 or 4 people they look after. So I can personally look after 40 people. And these are not, and the other thing that I want us to run away from is this thing of charity. Don't give people charity. Teach them how to fish and let them fish for themselves. Buy services. So by employing 10 people, I'm effectively helping 30 to 40 people, because one, they are getting paid because they are doing a service and they are looking after their family. So us as the diaspora, let's look and outsource, not to India, but to your continent. You, Oscar, probably any of your graphics that you've done here, you'll be paying a lot of money in pounds. But if you were to do it in Ghana, you'll pay a fraction. So again, it's me and you who can change that. Of course, let's influence our leaders to do the same, but it starts with us. It starts with you and me. Again, the whole thing almost comes back to attitude. But it's painful, Oscar, what happens to our brothers in Libya, slavery, when people are trying to cross, they're dying. It's absolutely painful when that happens. But when you have now made it here in the UK, and here's another thing, I'm actually, someone has challenged me to write a book, and I've taken it up where I've said what every young African person needs to know is that when you are in the UK, the first thing that I would encourage you to do is to create wealth and influence within the UK. That's the first thing you should do. Buy property, do all these things within the UK. Once you have influence within the UK, meaning I can influence the mayor because we've got wealth and everything else, then take some of that money. That's what the Jews do. I'm taking this, I'm not reinventing the wheels. The Jews do that. The Jews in South Africa, the richest people are the Jews. In America, it's the same. Here in the UK, it's the same. But then they take part of their profits, it goes into Israel. That's why no one can touch Israel, is because they have influence. So our influence starts here in the UK as Africans, when we can start putting pressure on government to pass our policies that are favoring us. That's why you can never say anything bad about Jews. Corbyn lost his leadership because they thought he was he was anti-Jew. That's why he lost that position. It's because they've got that power. We don't have that power in Africa. We don't.
And that's quite interesting. But you made an interesting point in terms of remittance. And I know Africans in diaspora contribute a lot to remittance.
Yeah.
And the question is that you are saying we should invest it. But I can tell you that upon all the people that I know and people that I've consulted, people that always come to me because of me going to Ghana back and forth, what kind of businesses I can do and all that. Trust me, Conrad, loads and loads and loads of people have lost money because they try to invest back home and their money got squandered. How can we? You see, we are giving all the positives, but sometimes in reality, it doesn't really work.
That is my favorite question, Oscar, of the night. And it's my favorite. I'll tell you why. Because we do shortcuts. We do shortcuts. I'm one of them. I've been banned so many times trying to help my brothers and my sisters. I buy them a bus saying, hey, this will create employment, and they will take them off and they squander that. That's the first hard lesson that I've got a mentorship program of which I call 25 under 25 of young people that I'm mentoring now. But let me tell you, my point there is what I've learned as Africans. We need to formalize things. No shortcuts. Formalize things. Okay, I'll give you another example. Do you know that a lot of white people are making money in the continent? A lot of money.
Yes.
Because their things are formal. So meaning, when you start here in the UK and you've got 10 people, you come up with 10 people to do a consortium. Don't do a consortium and then we're going to put money into Oscar's account, your personal account, and then we're going to give you 2,000 each into your account. You're going to be tempted. You've got other pressures. You end up using that money. What do? We go to a lawyer. We put it into a trust. Then Oscar does not have access to that money. Then Conrad does not have access to that money. You formalize it. You know, it's another example is a person who works in the bank, even if they're a thief, there are systems in place that they cannot steal. So first and foremost, Oscar, let's formalize things. When you formalize things and you go to Ghana with your money, go there and formalize things so that there is a track record so that you can be able to sue. Don't then go and send your brother money and send him £5,000. He's got his own pressures. His kids are not going to school. He's not feeling well. He's going to take 500 and say, I will replace it. Don't do that. Don't tempt them. Formalize it. Hire a person, form a company in Ghana, hire a manager who is not related to you, give them their salary, let them run your business. If they fail, you fire them. You won't lose money that way. So I would tell my young people here, formalize it. Do not do things informally. You will get burnt. And don't blame anyone if you get burnt because you have not formalized things. That is very, very important. For even in Africa, don't go and formalize things in Africa. Don't send your cousins and your uncle, and then if you get burnt, you come back crying. Don't do that.
I think one of the things that you said that kept me cracking is don't tempt them.
Don't tempt them. Don't tempt them. You're tempting. You know, I have pressure. I've got my kids who need to go to school. I've got this, and then you send me 5,000. You know, it's tempting. Rather, as I say to you, formalize. You know what I have learned when I want to help my relatives is that I have a formal business. I've got a formal manager, formal directors. Then I will send them to get employed, and if they misbehave, they get fired. Because we think our relatives are going to make us money. No, they're not. Don't send your relatives money, but create employment for them some way, somehow. But don't get them involved in business. Don't tempt them, Oscar.
Don't tempt them. And I think that's a very good point. And I think Bernard O. Entry has got a comment here. He said, well done, sir. Very educative talk. Congratulations, sir. And I think he's made another point here. He says, I don't know whether you've met before.
Yes, I've met him. Shout out to Mr. Bernard.
Yes. He said, one time, Mr. Conrad, great to see you and to hear you talk, sir. And I have another comment from Sandra Awodi. She says, change of mindset and attitude is all we need. Awesome. And I think when it comes to this attitude and change of mindset, I really want us to really delve into a bit of the mindset issue. Because our mindset, I don't know where to start from.
Yeah.
It needs to change.
Yes.
What do we need to change? And how can that one help us?
Yeah. Again, our children, it's important. You know, the Indian community here in the UK is one of the most successful because they, again, I want to delve back a bit. The biggest supplier of African products here in the UK is Indian. It's an Indian company. Now, but the Indian, if you notice, when they come here, their children maintain their culture. Okay, they maintain their culture. The Indians here will not come back. They will not forget their language. They will not forget their dress. They will not forget all those things. So it starts with us. But our children, when they come here, they become English straight away. They can't speak the language. They don't know. They don't even travel to the continent. Well, some do, but a lot of them. So it's about that mindset of instilling pride into our children to be proud to be African. But look, Oscar, this is important. It's not all about bashing. There is always hope and there's always positive things that happen. I'll give you an example. I've been in this country for 20 years and I have seen a change in attitude of being an African from 2010. Yeah. And I will give out a shout out to my friend called Taponeswa who works for Sony Music. And I remember the time when Afrobeats started. And suddenly Afrobeats became on Choice FM. We could hear, Afrobeats, and it suddenly started being cool to be African. So that Afrobeats culture, and to an extent, what's the the Nigerian movies? Nollywood again has shifted so because of people like Davido and Wizkid, we are also now being represented as Africans, and our kids now in the UK are looking up to these people as icons. It's important. So that's a positive part of it, that at least our culture is being played in the mainstream. So if we can encourage our children to be proud, it always goes back to that prideness, to be proud to be Africans, to be able to identify as Africans, to keep their culture. And to an extent, Nigeria and Ghana are actually better because, the children grow up knowing their culture. They grow up knowing their food, how to cook jollof rice. The debate is still there. Which one is better, the Ghanaian or the Nigerian one? I prefer the Ghanaian because it's a bit spicier and everything. So the debate is out there.
Wow.
But that's what it is. It's about our culture and being proud, and that our mindset will change.
Yeah, because I think that's a very good point. Because I remember I've also spent like almost 2 decades here. When we came to this country, when you want to take your auntie's son, your auntie's daughter to a party, they didn't want to go. They didn't want to go. They didn't want to know.
Yeah.
But now they are the ones that will be reminding you of the date. Yes. Because they want to go and dance with their Afro beats, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think it's one of the biggest exports of African culture to the diaspora.
Yes.
And I think that is a very positive one. And you made mention of Nollywood as well. Yeah. Now, when I look at Nollywood on Netflix,
yes,
we look at the picture quality, if you look at the storyline, and I'm like, look, we can do it. It's just a matter of just investing a little bit and really believing that it can be done, isn't it?
Yes, and correct. I also have to give out a shout out to my very good friend from Nigeria. His name is Mate. He started a movement, if you have, of Afro Nation. He's promoted Afrobeats into the O2, the mainstream, and filled it. So shout out to my friend Smade. He has done that, and then he did Afro Nation in Portugal, which was good, and he's also done it in Ghana, the year of the return. So again, shout out to Ghana. I'm proud of Ghana because of the year of the return that was done exceptionally well. So we've got to celebrate the good things that happen, and so Afrobeats has in a way served us. I think our food as well should be the next thing that we export into the UK here. Anyone who's got an African restaurant, shout out to you. Let's go and eat into these African restaurants. Let's order African food. That should be our next. I want to see jollof rice being sold at Tesco. Exactly. So that's how we can change our mindset. Let's buy African. When you spend your dollar, make sure a lot of it is going to African products.
Let me tell you a story of I was having a conversation with one of my Indian friends, and I'm like, you guys, your food, like Indian restaurants are even full with white people. They love your food and all that, but I don't know why our food is not being able to penetrate the market. He said, Oscar, you people weren't sharing your food. We were sharing ours, and they loved it.
Exactly.
And I think that is a very great point. I think we've got our brother Zolani Zala over here.
Yeah, Olani Pala.
Yes. And he's saying African leaders should be able to tell the East, North, and West sorry, the lifestyle you ordered is currently out of stock. That is really powerful.
Ask him what he means. Can you expand, Mr. Kala, and tell us more what you mean by that?
I think it's too deep, isn't it?
Yes.
That is too deep.
Yeah.
Mr. Zala, please just
Tell us more. I mean, I shout out to my good friend, Mr. Kala. He's a very proud African as well.
Oh,
He's
yes.
South African. I mean, when there is xenophobia, he's one of the first people who go and march in the embassy defending or going against xenophobia. You know, he's a proud African, and we need more proud people to come together. Hence, you know, Oscar, you've been a presenter in my event. Hence, why I do the Global African Awards is that we need more proud people to come together and sell the continent and inspire the young people to do the same. You know, that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking for people to give me money or to do anything else. Let's start with the pride. Our kids need to be proud and say, you know what, I am a proud African. And this is happening, by the way. And I don't know what is happening. I think it's the Afrobeats. The Afrobeat is helping us a lot because all our children now are looking up to Davidos and to all the, you know, Fuse, ODG and everything else. So there is positive into it. So long may it continue. Long may we get our children to be proud of their culture, and us as adults, let's also continue to be proud of our culture and let's consume. The most important thing is we can be proud in our mouth. It doesn't help. It's our dollar. Where do you spend your dollar? If you spend your dollar with Chinese, if you spend your dollar in Indian food, if you spend, this is where it starts. The change is going to come in our attitude on our expenditure.
Do you think Africa needs to position itself like the way India have positioned themselves for technology, China in terms of manufacturing? Do you think Africa needs to position itself?
Yes, we need to do that. And, you know, we need to do that. But what is important there, Oscar, again, is that the fortunate thing about Africa is that the market is there. So in Nigeria, how many people are there? So if we start manufacturing and doing African products, let's sell within the African continent. That's why I say to you, from an AU perspective, the leaders need to come together and say, we now want to do a Buy Africa campaign across the continent. Buy Africa. Even takes more, and this is why these Americans and Chinese are clever. Takes more products that are not done in Africa, and then so that our African products are cheaper. And the more we buy African, the more they can improve. Like you said earlier on about the stadiums, the reason why the stadiums won't improve is because you're spending your money in the Premier League. So if you spend your money, like what we're doing with Afrobeats, the reason why Davido and Afrobeats and Nollywood is working is because we're spending money buying that music. That's why they are successful. So let's go and buy African. Very, very important.
My son always asks me, Dad, why is it that you are only watching Nollywood, no other movies on Netflix? I'm like, that's the language I understand, you know.
That's the
yes, but it's a good point that you are making. I'm going to have a series on one of my programs called STEPOUT SME Focus. And with that one, I've got some series of lineup entrepreneurs that will be coming on the show. And the idea they want to bring on the show is that we want to promote Buy Black.
Yes, I think today is Buy Black Day or Black Pound. Yeah, it's called, yes, today.
So that we are going to start that series just in the near future. We are still behind the scenes working towards that because you see, we want to create that pride that you are talking about. We have to be very proud. You see, when you look at the women hair that they get from India, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yeah. Can we create our own hair to let that money stay within ourselves on the continent?
No, it's difficult. But it's also changing slightly because there is now a movement where women are starting to appreciate their own natural hair. So there's a bit of movement. But I think if we keep talking and keep discussing in such platforms and telling people that buy African and have these programs that you're talking about, encouraging. It starts there, Oscar. It's important. And that's why I'm saying to you, it's the same as Nollywood or Afrobeats. Someone had to start somewhere. It's not like Afrobeat started now. They had to just continue and be consistent and pushing it. So you and me, people in the media, need to continue talking about being proud. I tell a lot of my people in that, guys, Oscar, I started another company called Kudu Support in my country, kudusupport.com, on purpose. And the reason why I started it is because I kept earlier on, I employed creatives that are just coming out of university. They've got graduates, they are graphic designers, web developers, app developers. And I then started promoting to because we, as you know, like Ghanaians and Nigerians and Zimbabweans and everywhere, we are all over the world. And then I'm saying, you people in Zimbabweans in Canada, in the US, use these boys because they are there to service you, and they'll give you equally the product that you want. It's a virtual service.
Yes.
And you're creating employment, you're helping the economy, you're taking people out of the poverty line. That is how we're going to change our continent, Oscar. But it starts with you and me. It does not start with anybody else. This is what is important. That's what I'll be driving across every time. It starts with you and me, how you educate your child, how you spend your money. All those things matter in the grand scheme of things. If we all did that, if we all created virtual companies in Africa that are giving us support, a lot of the young people will be employed. But it starts with you and me, and then we duplicate to the rest of the community.
Do you think democracy has really helped us? Now, let me give you a typical example.
Mm-hmm.
We give like mandate to almost African country 4 years. Now, after 4 years, maybe Party A loses power.
Mm-hmm.
It started this infrastructure.
Yeah.
You're not able to face it. The next party comes to power and he says it wasn't my project. So he also leaves it and go and start another project, never finishes. So we have got so much uncompleted projects. For example, in Ghana, do you think democracy is good for us? Or we need that one kind-hearted man?
Yeah.
For example, Gaddafi, you love him or you hate him. Because now he's a clear example that because he has left, there is chaos in Libya. Now, is democracy good for us?
No, it's a very good point, and I will share as a secret. One of my one of the richest guys in Zimbabwe is called Strive Masiwa. He has also mentioned that democracy, 10 years is not enough time to implement anything. However, it might not work for Africa, but our leaders. Okay, I want to give you an example. It's in Rwanda. There is a dictatorship of some sort happening in Rwanda, but it's working for Rwanda in a way in terms of outlook. The economy is performing well. So democracy as prescribed by the West is probably not good for us. The same way as you talk about Gaddafi. Gaddafi was doing well in Libya, and look what's happening now, chaos. So, and if you look to an extent, I'll give you, in my own country, I use Mugabe as an example. At some point, to a certain extent, he was doing well, but he overstayed. He overstayed. But Mugabe had he missed an opportunity to be the champion for Africa. He should have maybe stayed 20 years, for example, resigned, and became a champion for Africa, because he's like the Kwame Nkrumah's. He's a Pan-Africanist. Then he would have been the champion of fighting for the continent. He was very well spoken, and when he goes to the AU, he was fighting for Africa. So he could have done that. Right now, we've got a few leaders who are Pan-Africanists. Maybe the guy in Rwanda, you look at the young Julius Malema in South Africa, Pan-Africanist, fighting xenophobia, trying his best he can, but he doesn't have the support. So I agree with you. Democracy as prescribed by the West does not work in Africa. Does not work. Perhaps maybe we need a different strategy, or maybe a longer term, I don't know. But again, we don't want the leaders to overstay at the same time, because democracy just makes it gives us that option of change to say, okay, you have failed, we're now taking you out and giving someone a chance. So it's finding a way to balance it up, but we need to prescribe our own democracy as Africans.
Now, Bernard O. Entry has got another comment here, and he says, we need a radical mindset shift in our leadership, which will make a great impact on citizens. Dr. Mandela once said, African leaders will be forced to build their own when they are rejected to seek help in Europe. Well done again, Mr. Conrad.
Yes, I think that's the point everyone else was. You mentioned that point earlier on, that Corona in a way is forcing people to be within their country. So there could be some positive out of that. So I'm going to embark on a campaign with the AU again to recognize the diaspora as the 55th country. There is, I would perhaps also, you must have heard of the AU ambassador in the US who was fired recently. I can maybe ask her to join you on this program. But her campaign is the mind shift again. It's the mind shift, and it's the economy. What we are still not realizing as Africans is how powerful we are. It's just that we don't know it. We are so powerful because our dollar here, even in the UK, and our vote here in the UK can shift. If we're saying as African, we're going to boycott Tesco, Tesco is going to come and say, what do you want us to do? Tell us, Africans, please, what do you want us to do? But we don't do that. If we're saying we're gonna boycott certain things as Africans, and we all do it, they're going to come begging. But we don't know how powerful we are. We don't know how influential we are. If we say as all Africans, we're going to vote conservative because Labour, you're not performing, Labour tomorrow will start coming saying, guys, what can we do for Africans? So we need to know our value as Africans. Let's not undervalue ourselves. The thing is, we think we are inferior. We are not inferior. We are influential. We just don't know it, and we're not practicing it. It's almost like if a lady is beautiful, she doesn't know that she's beautiful. She will not be looking after herself. But you are beautiful with your natural hair as an African, and we like you like that. You don't need to do and go and put your weave and everything else. No, you are beautiful as you are, and we love you as you are. Just walk with pride. That's all we're asking for. And once you have pride and confidence as a woman, you become attractive. It's the same as the continent. We are attractive, we just don't know it.
Yes.
That's all.
It's true. It's true. Yes. I think, let me read this comment from Mr. Olani, yeah? And let me get it here. Come on. Yeah, he says, look, Russia, Germany, and Chinese leaders, when they come to the UK Prime Minister finds their own language interpretations, experts, or a phone system. But when African leaders attend UN or visiting any Western country, they speak English, not their mother tongue, and this is the show of this shows deep weakness. We have to display our power by action, not talk and talk again, or almost nothing. I think he's making a good point there, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very good point. It's culture. I mean, like I'm saying to you, we are a nation of consumers. We consume everything. We consume the language, we consume the clothes, we consume the phones, anything. We consume even the culture. That's why I'm saying to you, we think you are more educated and you are better because you sound more English. The more English you sound, the more you are respected because you are well spoken. So we are consumers. We need to change. We need to understand that we need to own. So I agree with Mr. Kala to say it starts there. Our culture, our pride. We are always. I just to add to Mr. Kala, because I know he's a politician. You know that Chinese has an Africa summit, and they all jump and go to China. You know that. UK would do an Africa summit and the African leaders come rushing and etc. But you know, Oscar and I've got to make this point because I know that some of my colleagues from the British Embassy might be watching, but I've got to make another point, which is trying to divert from here. I am grateful for the UK, okay? And the reason why I'm grateful for the UK is because it's giving me opportunities, right? It's giving me opportunities. I'm able to go and buy a property. If my credit is good, I'm able to do business here. I'm able to do those things. So I like my host, and I'm not taking away from it. So it's a good thing. However, as much as that is the case, we then have to also think of our continent so that we are at par. I don't want to, I don't want this Britain is better than Zimbabwe. We are at par, we are friends, and we are on the same level. And I want us to be proud as friends. I don't want, it's like when you are friends, Oscar, if I have more money than you and I will be looking down on you, I have to lift you up to be on my level. So it's important that we, as Africans, develop wealth in the UK, and then also I call it reverse. They've got reverse what they call brain drain in Africa. Where all the talent is taken out. I call it the reverse. Make your wealth, take it back into Africa, but make it here. But I'm not saying take all your money and lose it, but go and influence, go and change your country.
Some people take it all out. When you go to like Ghana and Lebanese people, they make their money, they bring it back to their country.
Yes.
And you also develop with their country. So I think it's just normal. But it looks like we are not putting more investment into that. I think time is already fast spent.
Yes.
And we're going to wrap up quickly. But before we wrap up, if you are watching us for the first time, this is T2i TV. That is Trained to Inspire TV. Our mandate is to educate the young people of the African continent and those in diaspora and anybody that cares to learn. I have got to the realization that our continent, the kind of conversations that is being held on our continent is based on politics, entertainment, and sports, to the detriment of education that can help young people to achieve their visions in life. Now, I call this the education beyond the classroom. That is giving them the knowledge that they are not going to write exam about, but is going to enhance their personal development. And I believe that if young people on the continent can really work on their personal development, then they are on the road to succeed in their careers and in their business.
Yeah.
And this is what this platform is all about. We are here to really create that educational hub, that discussion that is going to empower young people. But we cannot do this alone. We need your support. We don't want this platform to be a Ghanaian platform. We don't want this platform to be a Zimbabwean platform. We don't want this platform to be a Nigerian platform or a South African platform. We want it to be an African platform. I want an African entrepreneur that has been successful to come and discuss how he made it, so that young people can understand that it's a process.
It's possible as well. Yeah.
Not a young person, an African living in somewhere that is really doing fraud and showing on social media, telling young people that is the way for you to succeed. We want to really create a paradigm shift that young people will understand that, look, it's a process. It takes time, tenacity, of purpose. You have to have the patience and the drive. Be consistent and passionate about it, and you will succeed over time.
Yes.
Next Tuesday, I'm interviewing a young man from Ghana. This young man is helping small businesses to grow, and he has achieved a lot in his young age. And these are the kind of discussions that we want to bring. That one is the Step Out Youth Impact Zone, where we interview young people between the ages of 12 to 30 years. The idea is that if they can share their story, we believe that young people will relate better than sometimes me and Conrad having a discussion.
Mm,
So
yes.
that one person that will be watching that young person and saying that, look, I started my business with $100, but I've made a turnover of $1,000. That young man is not successful, but his story can inspire a young person that have got $200 sitting down or $50 sitting down.
Yes.
So we want to create a hub where that platform, young people will share their own stories to inspire other young people. That is why we are saying that when we are doing these such platforms and you have got a small business, this is the best place to advertise so that you can also support this platform.
Yes.
It's sustainable.
Yes. Oscar, you give me your rates, but I can straight away would want to support, and I can hear live on air saying I will sponsor your program. Obviously subject to us agreeing a rate, but I would, because this is the way I want to spend my dollar within and supporting such initiatives. So I can rightly say one of my companies, which is a virtual support called kudusupport.com, will be sponsoring this program, so that at least that way I can reach out to other people who don't know, because we are servicing a lot of Zimbabweans in the diaspora, but it shouldn't be about Zimbabweans. It should be, because the same flyer that you can do in India or in anywhere else, the same website, you can still do it in the continent. So our brothers and sisters, let's support our own. So I pledge live that I will sponsor your program as Kudu Support. That's one of my companies.
Wow.
I'm not running that company, so people don't know, but I'm just giving you an example that I created the company solely so that I can support the creatives, these graduates that are coming in. So I'm not the managing director. There is someone running it, but it's one of my company. I will be gladly to sponsor and advertise.
Thank you very much. You see, you are an example of, you don't just talk, but you walk the talk, isn't it?
We have to.
Wow. That's quite interesting. And I'm grateful for that. We can just agree on a very good rate and just try and push it as well. So this is where actually we sit. And for example, if you cannot advertise, some of the things you can do to support is for you to share this.
Yes.
Go to the like page and like it. Let's create an African hub where we are going to be proud in 10 years that we did this, and this is how many young people that we have impacted.
Yes.
And this is going to go beyond this discussion.
Yeah.
Because I believe that me and Conrad having this discussion over time can have a seminar at Zimbabwe, Harare, where we will not just go and talk, but support young people.
Yes.
Take their business off the ground.
Yes.
And already I've got organizations in Ghana, not because of coronavirus. We would have started, we wanted to help one person a year bring their business off the ground. And we wanted to sit down in 10 years and look at helping 10 young people whose businesses are across the globe, and they are really impacting.
No, yes.
And you need to start from somewhere, isn't it?
But Oscar, yes, I haven't spoken about my program, and I'll tell you this about my program. Sorry, because you've touched on to something that's important. I'm passionate about young people, and I have a mentorship program called 25 Under 25. The idea behind this is called Tribes. It's called Tribes. So if I have 25 people that are under 25, and I like what you said, but what we are doing, they're based in the UK, what we are doing with the 25 people, and I'm starting to tell out the secret here, is that I want the 25 people to think that they've got 5 years to be millionaires. And it's a 5-year program. It needs discipline. It needs compound. You need to compound. And compounding is what I call putting £100 a month aside. If you are 25 of you putting £100 a month aside, you are putting 2,500 a month. In a year is 30,000. In 2 years is 60,000. You can easily buy a property. So that program, that mentorship program, is purely saying You have 5, because I didn't have that when I was 25. It will teach me how to manage my credit. I didn't know how to manage credit for a long time, but it teach me discipline. What is it that from a biblical, Solomon had prayed for wisdom. And that's what I prayed for. So God, give me wisdom. And this wisdom, when I have wisdom, what is it? Impacting young people to say the mistakes that I have made in business are these: bad credit, compound, and having a 5-year plan and a mentor to guide you along the way, so that when you reach the age of 30, it's a must that you should, in the UK here, if you're an African and you're below 25, make sure that by the age of 30, you own a property. Make sure you do that. Don't do anything else. Make sure you own a property. Then you can, in your 30s, you can then start doing other things. I never had that advice, and I'm only catching up on it now. But I should have caught this. I give a shout out to one of my people I admire in Canada called the Tsikiras. They are property experts, property millionaires. They've opened up my eyes as into how you can make money into property. It's easy. We see all these adverts, we think it's difficult. It's so easy. If you are 25, make sure you work towards securing your own property by the age of 30. Very, very important. And this is what I'm teaching these 25 people, so that when shift your mindset, 30, you are a millionaire, not maybe in the bank, but in property or in investment that you own. That is important. Africans should be millionaires here in the UK, not in Africa, here in the UK. That is what my campaign is about. It's 25 under 25. Those who are interested can go to my website. At the moment, it's called conradmwanza.com. Fill in the form, and as long as you are below 25, I'm looking, and this is on purpose. These are the future. These are our future leaders. I wish someone had intervened and gave me a slap at 25 and said, "Young man, wake up. This is what you need to be doing." I was just walking. One of my favorite quotes is called, "To get lost is to learn the way." I've been walking in the bushes and walking, getting lost. And that's how I found the way, but I took the long way. But if you are 25, you've got a future, and it's not too late. You have to own a property by the age of 30.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And one thing I can also say, that if you need mentors on any programs or anything that you want to do, I will be there to also support as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is the synergy we can build to really build. You see, we don't just want to talk. We want to be an example of what we are talking about. Yes. So if Conrad is having a program, a mentorship program, whether it's online or in a physical space, and I can be one of the mentors, why not?
Yes. Thank you.
If you are dedicating mentors to people as well, we should be able to support you on that. So I think it's a very great initiative. And I think these are some of the things we need to do. And you see, these are big sacrifices that you are making, and some of us are making. But we believe that we want to leave that legacy. You see, we want to be the Nelson Mandelas of our time in our own small way.
Yeah.
We don't need to hold the mic at AU for us to be heard.
Yeah.
But we have created our own platform. You are in your house, I'm in my house, having a very powerful discussions where people are following and getting impacted. And this is the kind of platform we want to create. So I believe that, look, go and like the page, share it, go to YouTube, go and subscribe to T2i TV. Let's spread this message the way we love spreading comedy, like the Nigerian comedy we see on WhatsApp. We just share it all over the place. Let's also share these ones and let people get to know that, look, this is the new Africa that we are portraying, and we want everybody to come on board. Now, Conrad, your last word to any young man that is watching you, anybody that's watching you.
Anyone that's watching out there, let's be proud. Let's continue, and I don't say you're not, let's continue to be proud to be African. Spend your dollar on African products. Subconsciously ask yourself, how can I help the next African brother? If it's a consultancy, if you've got information, share with your brothers. It's important. So all I'm saying to you, let's continue to be proud. Spend your dollar on African products. Please. I beg you, spend your dollar on African products. That's the only way we're going to uplift our continent. I thank you very much, Oscar, for having me. It's been a fruitful discussion. I've learned a lot as well. I look up to you as, I know you presented you were MC in one of my events, and you did so well. So I thank you. If you are looking for a very good MC, this is your man, because
Yes.
this is your man. He did very well for us. So I'm proud of you. I will use you again. But thank you so much, Oscar, and it's a great platform.
Thank you very much as well for having me as well, because, and I know this is not going to be the last time you'll be here.
Yes.
You'll be coming often to also come and impact, because I want to always get people that are ready to sacrifice, because this is a sacrificial job. So we need people that are already sacrificing because they understand the terrain better. Mr. Kulani says, wow, well done, Mr. Mwanza. Truly great African. And also Juan Muchopa. I hope I've got your name right.
Jean Muchopa.
Jean Muchopa, yes. He says, well done. And I've got Chanel Moyo. She says, finally, doers, your work is admirable. Thank you very much. We've had a very wonderful discussion. This is Step Out with Oscar Bimpong. On Tuesday, we are going to have a discussion with a young man, and we are going to talk about his journey, his entrepreneurial journey, and that is the Step Out Youth Impact Zone. We are here every Tuesday, every Thursday, and every Saturday. Don't just miss it. I always tell people that if you want to read a book and you find it so difficult to read, in 1 hour, we are going to summarize the book for you to gain that knowledge. Invest your time in such discussions, and I can tell you, you are going to succeed. You see, outside the classroom is where the learning is. You already have the skill, but do you have the personal development, the leadership acumen, the passion and the drive, the mindset? These things are equally critical than your skills. That's why a lot of people have got the skills, but they don't know how to turn the skills to make wealth. So we are here to bridge that gap, to really harness that your skills and turn it for you to use it to create wealth. So meaning that if you're a medical doctor and you continue to watch us, over time you have your own medical practice, because we are going to change that mindset for you to believe that you can also have your own medical practice. And it's doable, because the people that we bring on board are an epitome. They are an example of what you want to achieve. I spoke to a young man that was yesterday, and he will be coming on the show. And this man has moved from the surgery room and now into management. And this guy is managing a multi-million-dollar company in Ghana. But he's a medical doctor by profession. He's coming to tell us how he transitioned. These are the kind of discussions we want to bring on board. And this is why you need to support us. So it's been a wonderful discussion with my man, Mr. Conrad in Mwanza. Please, thank you very much once again. And you will be coming back once again on this platform. All right. So
thank you, Oscar. Thank you. So thank you, viewers. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, then. Thank you very much. So we are going to really get back to you on Tuesday. Thank you and stay blessed.
I believe that you are able to do exceedingly abundantly, far above all I could ask or think. Believe, yes, I believe. You say,
I believe that you are able to do exceedingly abundantly,
I am so excited because the Step Out TV shows are back live on T2i TV. And for those who don't know, Step Out is a series of interviews and motivational segments designed to bring the best out of you and your business. Therefore, we have the following TV programs. Our first TV program, which is our flagship program, dubbed Step Out with Oscar Bimpong, is designed to interview consultants, experts, talented people, and those doing exceptionally well in their communities. The second one is Step Out SME Focus. This is where we interview business owners and showcase their products and services. The third one is Step Out Youth Impact Zone. This is where we interview young people succeeding against all odds to serve as an inspiration to other young people. And the last one is Step Out Authors Corner. And this is where we interview authors to share what their book is about to the world. Join us every week at 7 p.m. GMT. Like T2i TV on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel. To advertise or for further information, do WhatsApp +44 759 1152 983 or +233 55 580 3924 or email info@traintoinspire.com. T2i TV. We engage, educate, enlighten, and empower.